And then as we dip into October, of course, USC is paid a visit by Arizona, and the Wildcats gave USC fits last season and should be looking to get even better. And Jed Fish doing a nice job, at least through those first two seasons, in lifting Arizona to a competitive status here in 2022.
Yeah, so this is where we get into the meat of the schedule, and this is where we get into the reality of just how bad a schedule this is for USC. So, if you asked a USC fan, any USC football fan, what's the one thing we wanted on the 2023 schedule? The one thing, because you already knew, like the schedule leak had come out in advance, that you had Washington on November 4th and you had Oregon on November 11th. The one thing you wanted, the only thing, was don't give us a high-end opponent, which frankly meant Utah, either the week before or the week after Notre Dame. That was it. Like that was the one thing USC fans, players, coaches, administrators wanted, and they didn't get it. And so like that to me felt like the Pac-12 flipping the bird. And I've had people tell me, well, but if you put other games in other places, that would have imbalanced the schedule, the rotations wouldn't have worked. Phooey. Let's educate people on a specific point about recent Pac-12 scheduling. USC and Utah, the Sam Darnold game, when Clay Helton called upon Sam Darnold after Max Brown got off to the slow start. Sam Darnold played well in Salt Lake City, didn't quite win. Utes won that game. It was on a Friday night, too. Another Larry Scott special. But like that was the start of the legend of Sam Darnold rescuing Clay Helton in 2016 at USC. That was a September game. Okay. 2019, JT Daniels is hurt. Keaton Slovis steps in, and he gets hurt in the first quarter, and third-string quarterback Matt Fink leads USC to a stunning win over a Utah team, which eventually still made the Pac-12 championship game as the Pac-12 South Division winner. When was that game played? In 2019, September. All right, so USC and Utah have a recent history of playing games, plural, multiple times, for you trying to do the quick math at home here at the Voice of College Football. USC and Utah have played multiple times in September in recent years. So any talk about, well, this disrupts the normal schedule and this adjusts the framework, and no, we couldn't have put USC and Utah in September. That would have disrupted things. Au contraire, like there is just tangible evidence of the Pac-12 repeatedly, multiple times, putting USC and Utah in September. Now, look, you want to make the TV matchup sexy in the second half of the season. I get it. But again, USC wanted one thing. Don't put Utah right before or right after Notre Dame. Could have played on September 23rd as kind of like the sexy early season matchup. The SEC will give us Florida and Tennessee in September. Like that was the sexy early season SEC game. So the idea that like, oh, you can't play a high end conference game in September, that's also BS. All right. So knowing how crowded that schedule was going to be with Notre Dame in mid-October in South Bend, because you have to do that schedule rotation every odd year. And because you had Washington, Oregon with the backloaded November, you could have just put USC and Utah in September so that it wasn't brushing right up against Notre Dame, but the Pac-12 didn't do it. And we can just sit here and pretend and be naive and say, oh, well, that's just how the dominoes fell. That's just how the system and the rotations worked. Or we can say, yeah, George Kliavkoff and Merton Hanks, they flipped USC the bird on the way out the door. And, because Merton Hanks said, he told John Wilner, of the Wilner Hotline, foremost Pac-12 journalist, as everybody knows. Merton Hanks told John Wilner, basically, we're delaying the Pac-12 schedule. We're not putting out in December as we've done in the past. We're going to wait until mid-January because we want to get this right. We want to get this thing balanced and fair for everyone. Well, we know that was just a load of BS.